Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the Takedown Podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me as always is my boy RC and the place to be, Mr. Roy Costin. Roy, we have ourselves some things to talk about this week from a very uh, hell of a weekend, with SummerSlam as well as Raw and NXT. Roy and I also did cover this on our special live we did with Daniel Crimmins on the RWT podcast, so we'll get into a little bit of SummerSlam, a little bit of wrestling, and the first thing I figured we'd touch upon as well, first and foremost, rest in peace to the late, great Dory Funk Jr., as we found out he passed away this week. What's so good is, like, WWE did a tribute video on NXT and show him training the likes of Kurt Angle, Mark Henry, the Hardy Boys, and a lot that he did back at the WWF headquarters and training them. Of course, the brother of the late, great Terry Funk, the Funk Brothers, one of the most legendary tag teams in old school wrestling within the 80s. Your thoughts, man? I know we could go into this a little bit more, but I think for me, like we mentioned, 86, long life, but also, too, another Hall of Fame, another legend who has left us.
Yeah, it's one of those things of you see the age of 86 and then when you associate it with wrestling, it's like, you know what, for a wrestler, that is a long life because for the longest time we had so many wrestlers passing away at like 50 or 60, and it's just like, man, they're gone too soon. Um 86 is a good age. I think that he lived a very worthwhile life. And like you said, he did train a lot of people. Um, and I think between him and Terry Funk, they've kind of left their stamp on even modern day wrestling. So,
Of course, and I think that's some of the best things and the lessons to be learned from a lot of these veterans. And I mean, at least he retired, and I mean, God rest his soul, I love Terry Funk, but how many times was Terry in and out of retirement, for God's sake? So it's one of those things where I look at it from a stance like this. Another one who he may rest in peace, and another one that gave a lot of legacy and lineage to this business. And honestly, much love to the Funk Brothers and also Funk University. Yes, I remember those t shirts, as I know you do too. Makes me laugh every time. And something that really didn't make me laugh, but it got me excited. We mentioned we had a hell of a week at SummerSlam. We did have a lot of returns at SummerSlam. Two things that we will mention. Well, actually, three. We'll start with this. So, Paige and the Bellas lose to Fatal Influence. The Bellas turn on Paige. We did find out that Brie Bella has a broken scapula, which much love to her on that front. Get well soon, speedy recovery. But Nikki Bella did turn on Paige and said, "This is what you get for taking my spot." I think the original plan was supposed to be, depending on the extent of Brie Bella's injury, the Bellas against Paige, and her tag team partner would be AJ Lee, kind of like a recreation of what we saw from WrestleMania back in 2015. Your thoughts on that and Brie Bella, broken scapula, man?
uh, it sucks for Brie. I think when we had talked about this during predictions, I said I wouldn't mind seeing Paige be the one to turn against the Bellas. That way you could kind of keep the Bellas as a face team and have them face off against Fatal Influence down the line for the titles. Um, it's a choice doing the heel turn for the Bellas rather than for Paige. I think Paige is a very good heel whenever she is in that heel mode. Um now that Bree's out of action for a while, I'm interested to see what they do. I'm sure they'll end up doing some sort of one-on-one with Paige and Nikki. Um if you're going to do that, at least put some sort of stake to it where, the winner of that match, maybe they get put into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Or maybe they get to face off against Chelsea Green or something like that. Uh, if you're going to have them face off, though, at least have some sort of, stipulation or some sort of stakes when it comes to that match. As far as them possibly setting up the tag team match, I think I mentioned this in the live. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see AJ and Paige against the Bellas in this day and age. all four women are good enough and respected enough to be going after individual titles. So just to have a nostalgia match with those four, it feels like a waste of talent, if you will. You know, you're wasting all four of those women where you could split it up and have AJ going after the United States title, Paige going after the women's title, um, Nikki Bella possibly switching brands and going after the women's title on Raw. Like, there's so much you could be doing with this instead of saying, okay, we've got four women who could be going after singles titles, but we're just going to put them into a nostalgia tag team match.
It's even like I said on the live to go on to your point. It's this Bella Army, man. I mean, they see this and they're having flashbacks to Total Divas. They're having flashbacks to the days of 2015 at that WrestleMania 31, and it kind of is going to be like a full circle moment where like Paige is going to be like, "This is the who I knew the Bellas truly were, and I thought you changed." And you could build the story off of that, and I get it, I understand where they're coming from, but it's like you could do, like you mentioned, you could do a Paige and Rhea, you could do so many different avenues, but they choose to go back to the well of nostalgia. And don't get me wrong, I love nostalgia. We all love that nostalgia boost, that nostalgia kick, so to speak. But it's like they have opportunities to go in this direction, but you constantly say in this direction and you keep it safe. And I got to tell you what was not so safe. The way that this man came in like a thief in the night. We got to talk about Randy Orton made his return at SummerSlam. RKO and Cody Rhodes helping CM Punk win. Well, CM Punk didn't know what the hell was going to happen, so Punk retains there. I got to ask you first and foremost, the return of Randy Orton, and I can tell you right now, we saw at WrestleMania what happened with Cody and Randy, with Pat McAfee, who we'll get to in a little bit here, but god dang it, man, Randy Orton's back. This match, to me, doesn't need a title, keeps Cody away from the title. Your thoughts on Randy coming back on RKO and Cody?
Hey, as long as it keeps Cody out of the title picture for a while, I'm fine with that. Um, I go back to what Damian Priest said a couple SmackDowns ago. I'm tired of the same four guys in the title picture. Shake it up a little bit. Yeah, you don't have to have a title with Cody and Randy. This could be the opportunity to start to kind of get some heel vibes for Cody, because I don't think people are going to boo Randy Orton right now.
Mm-mm.
He's like the last member of that OVW crew who is still actively wrestling for WWE. Um, I say it like that because everybody's like, "Oh man, those original four OVW guys, Randy's the only one still active." No, there was five. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't put Shelton Benjamin out like that. Put some respect on his name. Um, and he's still wrestling in AEW. So I think this could possibly be the start of a Randy Orton farewell tour. And I think a good way to kick that off is by him facing Cody, Cody realizing he can't do this by himself, so he turns heel and maybe possibly brings in a faction to go against Randy. And then, have the final match between Cody and Randy be maybe at next year's SummerSlam after Randy has gone through all the people in Cody's new faction. I think that would be fun. Um, but yeah, as long as it doesn't revolve around the title, I say kind of extend this out as long as you can.
There's so many ways to go with this, incorporating legacy and incorporating their history. I like the faction idea, but you know what you're going to get with these two, and especially with how their careers evolved, it's going to be amazing to see. But my thing to here too is Cody Rhodes right now is in the John Cena spot of gets cheered, gets booed, the mixed reactions. Randy Orton, like you mentioned, lasted the OVW class, but Randy Orton is so doggone cool that you just can't boo him just because he has that aura about him. And speaking of aura, man, when this man came out, the roof went off the building, baby. We had Sami Zayn and Finn Balor, but wait a second, here comes Nick Aldis back as the GM of SmackDown, brings out Gunther, and he's like, no, there's one more participant, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens wins the Fatal 4-Way number one contenders match. CM Punk and Kevin Owens, I am here for it. We saw it about a year or two ago when Kevin was going after Cody and CM Punk and him had a nice little exchange on the microphone. That's what I'm here for, because one of the best things about wrestling is talking people into the building, and those guys certainly can do it. And I think the promos you're going to get are going to be fabulous, and I think that's going to be definitely a match we'll see at Money in the Bank. So your thoughts on Kevin Owens' return, the win, and now we got CM Punk and Kevin Owens.
It's good to see Kevin come back, especially after the injury that he had. I know a lot of people speculated online that, it was just as bad as Big E's injury, and it seems like Big E is kind of officially retired from in-ring action. Um, and if that was going to be the case with Kevin Owens, I could definitely see him doing a role kind of like Big E is now, where he's one of the panelists, or he becomes a coach or something like that. He's a scout for NXT, because Kevin Owens has a great eye for wrestling. He has a great eye for the business. Um, Seeing him win, it was great. I feel kind of bad for Finn, because I felt the build up to this match was going to be Finn getting the win, because Sammy would have a further spiral down.
Same.
And I was really looking forward to, Finn Balor going up against Cody, or not Cody,
Punk.
CM Punk. But I can't say that I hate the fact that Kevin Owens won, because I really am looking forward to this Kevin Owens CM Punk thing. Um, Matter of fact, at some point during Punk's reign, I would like to see him face all four of those guys that were in the Fatal 4-Way in some way, shape, or form. Um, I think at this point, we're looking at who is the possible winner for Money in the Bank. And as it stands right now, I think three people that kind of are at the top of that list are Finn, Sammy, and Trick Williams. I think those are the three that are at the top of the list for everybody of who could possibly be Mr. Money in the Bank this year. And I wouldn't hate if any of those three won it, because Finn, I still think, deserves a title run. Sammy, it fits perfect with his character, especially what's going on. And with Trick, it gives him the opportunity to show, like, hey, I am main event ready. So good for Kevin Owens. I'm looking forward to this feud with CM Punk, but we've got to kind of get the ball rolling with Finn.
I think you have lightning in a bottle with a guy like Trick Williams. I think that's a best safe bet for Money in the Bank. Same with Finn, because I too was with you. I'm like, this dude, 10 years since, SummerSlam 2016. Let him get the win. Let Sammy spiral. Sammy's another one who's doing some of the best heel work that I've seen him do in the last 10 years since he's been on the roster. And I think I would love to see a iteration of like those four men against Punk. The other thing that really stood out with me when it comes to what we also got to see this week, so Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar, Hell in a Cell. Brock Lesnar went on Pat McAfee, and we got to see the fact that he said, hey, that was it for me. I'm finally done. I'm here to give you this interview, Pat, and tell you that I'm officially retired from all combat and from in-ring. And I got to tell you, as someone who was there for Brock Lesnar versus The Rock for the Undisputed Championship at SummerSlam 2002, Nassau Coliseum, I remember that night and being like, man, this dude literally is the next big thing. They pushed him to the moon. The rocket was strapped to him when he won that undisputed championship. And now that his final match was at SummerSlam, my God, man, what a hell of an ending. People can say what they will about Brock Lesnar, but this too was a multi-athlete sport. NCAA champion in 2000, WWE superstar, MMA fighter, former UFC champion. This dude conquered the world, and I got to tell you, he had a hell of a 24-year career, and that dude's run will go down in history when he reinvented himself in his second run in 2012, the start of the Suplex City, the start of coming back together with Paul Heyman, the many title runs, the many matches. This dude, I got to tell you, the history writes itself. Your thoughts on Brock Lesnar officially now? This ain't no storyline. Him officially retiring from in-ring competition.
I hope that it is official. Um, nothing, nothing against it or anything like that. But we've got so many guys that can come in and maybe not take his place, but have that similar aura. You had Oba beat him at Hell in a Cell. You had him have his, you had Brock raise Oba's hand afterwards. He gave his speech about, I'm the past, this is the future. They need to keep that momentum with Oba. Um, because if there's ever going to be someone that is close to a new Brock Lesnar, it is Obafemi. Um, a few months back, my brother even sent me a message, and he doesn't really watch wrestling all too much, but he sees Obafemi, and he sends me a message, and he's like, "Hey, man, is this guy supposed to be the new Brock?" And I'm like, honestly, he could be huge. He could be bigger than Hogan ever was if they keep creative behind him. Um, that's been the biggest issue with making these new stars in WWE is keeping creative behind them. Uh, we talked about it on the live where Triple H had said something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, all these people want pushes, but you have to prove to us that you can get over," and blah blah blah. It's like, well, these people are proven they can get over, but you're the one that is writing for them to get the push. Like, it's hard for them to get a push if you're not going to have the creative of them having a push. It doesn't matter how over they can get. Look at LA Knight. No, I'm not the biggest fan of LA Knight. We've had this discussion before, but LA Knight was so over for like a year and a half before anything ever happened for LA Knight as far as any kind of championship. He's back in the title picture now, as we saw on Raw, where he confronted Roman Reigns. But just because the people are behind them doesn't equate to creative being behind them, even though that's what Triple H has told us. Like, oh, if we hear the fans love this person, then yeah, they're going to get a push. It's like, not necessarily. That being said, it is hard to not notice the fans behind Oba. Brock retiring in his hometown and having the people chanting for Oba for this match was a good sign of, okay, this is a good time to pass the torch. And that may have been what led to Brock saying, okay, yeah, this was my final match. I don't think I could have done any better. I don't want to do the whole lead up to a last match or anything. I think going out, putting over this new young guy, and it being in my hometown, this is my perfect ending. So like you said, congratulations to Brock, but now's the time to move past Brock and put that creative into someone else like Obafemi.
I look at it like this. First and foremost, you couldn't have said it any better. When you look at someone Obafemi, you see someone who just has that awe, who has that overall, dare I say, aura about him. And the other thing that I will even mention to that is like Brock Lesnar. I know a lot of people want to see him against Gunther, but I'm like, at this point, I really don't need to see it. I think what we saw at SummerSlam was the best foot forward and the best way for the future and the past, that being Brock Lesnar, for him to really pass the torch. And this is where I ask you now about Oba, since we're going to get into Raw now. Oba Femi does the great speech. He says thank you to Paul Heyman in the back. And then Braun Breaker comes out, getting ready for his match, which we'll get into. Has this intense stare down with Oba. Number one, I am all here for a Braun Breaker Oba Femi feud. And number two, poor Joe Hendry got absolutely mollywopped and squashed in that match. I mean, he ducks the spear right into the steps, takes care of Austin Theory, then spear in the ring, and then Tozawa comes out and helps out Joe Hendry because he took out Otis. What were your thoughts on this segment? Because I thought the Oba speech was great. I liked the stare down, but then poor Joe Hendry gets squashed and Tozawa helping out Joe Hendry.
I think it was a good reset for Braun.
Mm-hmm.
People online have noticed how, just out of it Braun has been in the vision. It also, people noticed that about Dom during the Danhausen match at SummerSlam. This felt like a good reset of, okay, we hear you and we agree. We thought it was going to be us shoving Braun down your throats, but obviously you guys want us to do something with Braun Breaker. When it comes to Oba, the speech and everything like that, it just proves that Oba has become this all around perfect wrestler. He's good on the microphone. He has this great presentation. He's great in ring now. And by great in ring, I don't necessarily mean that he's doing all these crazy moves or whatever. He is doing the moves that work for his character. When people talk about others being great in ring wrestlers, they're like, oh yeah, Will Ospreay is this great in ring wrestler because he can do all these flips and he does this, these moonsaults and this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, but so is somebody like The Undertaker. The Undertaker was a great in ring wrestler because The Undertaker understood his character and understood what his character would do in the ring. And that's what we have with Oba. Oba understands I don't have to go out there and do a 5-star frog splash. I don't have to go out there and do a tope suicida or whatever like that. I go out there, I pick up people, and I throw them. I throw them far. I pick up people, I slam them to the ground. He understands his character, and he has a move set that complements his character. That's the same with Braun. Braun Breaker has a move set that complements his character. Braun is, like his singlet says, he's a badass. That's what he's there to do. He's there to just take names and kick ass. And that's what he's doing. And I don't feel bad for Joe Hendry for the simple fact of, for the longest time, most people saw Joe Hendry and just thought, oh, meme wrestler. Me and you both know that's not necessarily the case. Joe Hendry is fantastic in ring. But when you have that perception of, oh, it's a meme wrestler, why is he wrestling 15, 20-minute matches? He should be just doing concerts. He should be just appearing out of nowhere, out of a refrigerator when somebody says Joe Hendry backstage. That's the kind of thing that you get with Joe Hendry. And for him to get squashed by Braun Breaker, it's a good reminder of, okay, Braun is serious. Joe Hendry is a fun character, but Braun is head and shoulders above this guy right now. So I think the whole segment from the time Oba started his speech until the end of that match was a good encapsulation of the direction all of these characters are going. Oba gonna be big, Braun gonna be big, Joe is still Joe Hendry. People are still gonna love him, but he doesn't necessarily have to have these long matches.
I think for me too, to go to quite to your point, I mean, they're selling the story of Joe Hendry to Ozawa and everything that they're doing with Division, which is fine. And I mean, what you have with Joe Hendry, like you mentioned there, he's a great wrestler. You and I both know that, but I think it also highlighted the story was Braun being more focused, being more intent, getting back to that serious side. I mean, we saw that backstage where he's just like, hey, are you, what are we doing here? Or are you best friends with Oba now? So that goes on even more to the whole thing. It's like, okay, you're going to respect Oba and buddy with him, but what about me? What about me as your investment? We're talking about the vision. So I think that's going to lead to a great layer into their feud. And honestly, anything to get him away from Austin Theory, I'm fine with, just because of the fact that you've kind of established Austin Theory and his boo in the storyline, of course, as like the leader behind that. And I'm like, you know what? With that, honestly, when Logan Paul is ready and he's cleared, I think it's fine just to have the three of them in it, because it definitely solidifies more heel and heelishness and, dare I say, dickiness, to put it in the bluntest of terms. So with that being said, I will even add on more to this point. Another thing that we saw that was kind of dickiness was LA Knight, with the opening segment with Roman Reigns. Let me talk about that. He literally did the Shield theme, and he spelt that "you suck" to Roman Reigns. And I got to tell you something right now. I laughed a little. It gave me a little chuckle. But I got to ask you, seeing the two promos between them, are you looking forward to them, which I'm guessing is going to be the match at Money in the Bank?
I don't mind it. I thought one of the biggest takeaways from this segment was where Roman was talking about the watches. And somebody had said, well, how much were their watches? So somebody pulled up LA Knight's watch, and it's like a $600 watch. And I'm like, oh, daggone, that's crazy. Why would you spend $600 on a watch? Well, then you pull up Roman Reigns' watch, and it's $452,000 watch.
Oh, my God.
So, in that situation, I'm like, oh, that's why he said, oh, you have a Walmart watch, blah, blah, blah. Because Roman is walking around with $500,000 on his wrist like it's absolutely nothing.
Like
nothing. I think that the match will be fine. I think this does a thing of, okay, we're giving LA Knight a title shot. Are you happy? Are y'all good? He's getting his opportunity. And then we move on. It also, like you said, if they do it at Money in the Bank, it keeps LA Knight out of the Money in the Bank ladder match. So people won't have that, oh, how are you going to have LA Knight in the ladder match and not have him win? Because that's what they did last year. He was in the match, he's over with the fans, and he doesn't win the ladder match, and so many people were mad about it. So many people were agitated. This way, he gets a title shot. He's not in the ladder match. People are still going to complain because, let's face it, wrestling fans find a reason to complain about everything anyways. but at least he's getting that shine of he is facing off against the top guy. He may lose, but at least he is getting that marquee match that he does deserve because of how over his character is.
I mean, they did this 3 years ago, and it had everybody in the sun just interfere, like you mentioned. But I would like to see a match where, kind of like Roman does it on his own again, like much he did with Seth Rollins. But it's one of those things too where I did like the backstage thing where Jey Uso almost broke when he did the little thing right to him, which I thought was funny. And you heard him leave him alone, yeah, and all this stuff kind of taunting the bloodline. So it adds more layers to that since they got the 6-man tag win at SummerSlam. But I got to tell you something. I think if you really give them time and you let them cook, so to speak, as the kids say, go out of there and do the damn thing. I think he's going to lose as well, but it also gives him that position of going for the title, which a lot of fans really, really want to see. And speaking of some things that people really want to see, continuing on the part of Roman Reigns gets to the back and he speaks at Rey Mysterio, who's not just a Raw superstar, but the AAA general manager. And it has been announced that there's going to be a tournament where it's going to be superstars from Raw, luchadors from SmackDown, and superstars from AAA. And the winner of that tournament faces Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship on September 14th, the night after Triple Mania in Mexico. I'm going to say if it's going to be somebody from Raw, I think it is going to be Penta. If it's somebody from SmackDown, I think it would be very interesting if it was Phoenix. And if it's somebody from AAA, I think it's going to be El Grande Americano. Your thoughts, Roy? What do you think about this tournament? I know a lot of people really want to see Roman versus Penta.
Yeah, I think Penta's probably the front runner right now for who people want to see face off against him. It makes sense. You just had Penta have this long title reign with the Intercontinental title. Intercontinental title has always been kind of the stepping off point for the main event picture. That was, the old guard used to be like, hey, if you're able to carry this title, then you have a good opportunity of being able to be a world champion. I think you might be onto something with, if it's a Raw superstar, it'll probably be Penta. If it's a SmackDown superstar, I think Phoenix isn't a bad call. I wouldn't mind seeing it be being someone like Axiom.
That would be fire.
Yeah, just to change it up a little bit. And in AAA, I wonder if they're going to classify Damian Priest as a AAA member instead of a SmackDown member.
Hey, okay.
Yeah, so we have some very cool options. I do like the idea of it being El Grande Americano, but the only issue is they're doing it in Mexico.
Yeah.
If you have it as El Grande, like honestly, if you have it as any of the three that you said, they're going to get cheered, which is awesome. I'm so glad they will. But if you do it where it's El Grande Americano, there might be a riot.
If he doesn't win.
If he doesn't win. Like, I know that's the whole joke. Oh, if he doesn't win, we riot. There might legitimately be a riot.
It's Mexico.
If El Grande Americano is facing off against Roman and Roman wins. This could be a cool opportunity to have it where it is Dom versus Roman.
Hey, okay.
Do the mega champion versus the world champion. That would be a cool idea. I am interested to see if they're going to post the brackets or if it's just going to be, oh yeah, no, we have the brackets, don't worry guys, and they just kind of fill it out. But yeah, Penta I think would be a solid choice to go against Roman because then you can kind of see what Penta can do in that main event picture and possibly have him move into that main event picture when we start getting the title off of Roman.
I
So,
think it, I think it's one of those cases too where any viable option is there. You actually kind of popped me with the Damian Priest thing because like Damian Priest is now doing the AAA stuff. He said he wants that Latin championship. You know what I'm saying? He's in that match, the AAA Latin Heavyweight Championship. And then you got over here, he's doing the tag team thing though with R-Truth against whatchamacallit. Oh my God, the War Raiders.
War Raider. Well,
Thank you.
Viking. Are they the Viking Raiders now? I can't
I,
remember.
I think they're the War Raiders. I'm still going with War Raiders.
I'm
Damn it.
still, yeah, I was about to say, I still go with the War Raiders.
And of course, now the Tongans with their father Haku, who is now back, which I think even revitalizes them more as the MFTs, which that I'm very excited for. So there's so many ways you could go with it, and I do have to say this: I did crack up at the sickos and the IWC. They're like, well, what they're gonna do? They're gonna have, they're gonna go against All In and All Out because they got Worlds Collide and they're trying to counter program. No, they're gonna do it right after Triple Mania. They're in Mexico. It makes sense for the marketing and advertisement standpoint. And plus, it's a big match for Mexico.
Well, plus they've already got the counter programming for All Out or whatever.
Yeah, they got Heat Wave and AAA on August 30th for All In. Yeah.
Well, they've got
Oh,
CM Punk going to be in Chicago for AAA.
that's true. For Worlds
Yeah,
Collide, yeah.
so that's all they really needed.
Yeah, well, the
That's all.
Derpers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the Derpaders, man. They're gonna derp. Here's a new thing for this show. Derpaders are gonna derpader. There you go. So we will move on to the next part of Raw. And Roy, as I just said that,
Oh,
I'm at what?
actually, before we do, I just thought of another one that would be a really interesting one for that tournament to be the winner.
Okay, who hit me?
Omos.
Yes, with what he's doing now with Era Ono and Dominic. Yes.
If Omos was the winner from AAA,
Yeah.
then he would be facing off against Roman. That would be fun.
Well, we've never seen it before. Omos doing his thing in Era Oro now. Like, I'm okay with that. And he's become a big deal in AAA.
Yeah. So that wouldn't be a bad idea.
That's a good shout, Roy. That's a good shout. So that was not only the big things that happened from Monday Night Raw. Some of the other things we do have to talk about. We did see some returns. The one return I will discuss first is Javon Evans winds up beating Ethan Page on Raw, and then we finally see him. Big Cass comes in, hits the big boot, hits the what the heck's the name of his move now? It's the East Crossing, I believe. Something
Yeah,
like
I think something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
And he lays out Javon Evans and say that, for 8 years, I've been gone and now he's just ready to wreck shop and stack bodies. What were your thoughts on seeing Big Cass back in his first person that he goes right after? You said nothing personal, but his first person being Javon Evans.
I like that he clarified later about, hey, look, man, it's nothing personal. I'm just here to stack bodies. And you just happen to be the first body I saw. To me, that doesn't solidify him as a heel.
Or baby.
Or a babyface. That just solidifies him as, hey, I've come back to make a statement, and it doesn't matter who's in my way. I think it's definitely interesting to see him by himself in WWE. I know that AEW had him by himself for a little while. So I'll be interested to see how he does by himself. A lot of people took umbrage with the fact that he said, I've hit rock bottom. It's been 8 years. And there's a lot of people like, oh, so what? You just didn't even wrestle in AEW, blah, blah, blah. Look, he's not glossing over the fact that he wrestled in AEW. He's just letting everyone know, like, I was at rock bottom, regardless of where I was, and I wanted to make it back here. It has nothing to do with AEW. It has nothing to do with his stint on the indies. I was here. This is what caused me to go into rock bottom, was being let go from here. And I knew the only way for me to overcome all of my previous demons was to come back here. I think a lot of people don't understand that nuance. They just hear, "Oh, I've been gone for 8 years," and then they automatically assume, "Oh, it's you don't even like to mention AEW." No, there's more nuance to it than just I left AEW and now I'm here. Uh, that being said, the other thing with this segment was people need to stop complaining about Ethan Page's song taking out the word ego at the beginning. Um, it was his choice. He actually talked about the reason he did it was he doesn't want to just be a catchphrase. So stop complaining about, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe WWE would take out. No, he wanted it gone. It's out. Drop it. Like, listen to what these people are saying. It goes back to a couple weeks ago with the whole Cruz Montana thing. He changed his name. It was his choice. There's a reason he went with Cruz Montana. Stop jumping the gun on being upset with WWE when something is changed because we don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes. There may be a reason for the change that the wrestlers wanted, not what WWE wanted, but what the wrestlers wanted. So everybody just take a breath. It's all good. Um, as far as Big Cass goes, I would love to see him get into the realm of maybe going after, well, it's on SmackDown, but seeing him and Baron Corbin for the US title would be really fun. Uh I don't know. I'm very interested to see where they go with Big Cass. Definitely.
I think what I like about it too is first and foremost, I'm glad that he beat his demons and he's in great shape. This is the big cast that we should have got in 2018 when he started that solo heel run and when he was going against Daniel Bryan. This is the big cast we should have gotten, but things happen, life happens, and he is where he is. I think what they did with him in AEW, again, we never got that payoff match with Jericho, and then he's just teaming with Brian Keith on Ring of Honor. I think the biggest thing that really he got out of that, besides the Learning Tree stuff, was being the tag champ with Ricky Starks for a hot minute. And I think going back here gets to rejuvenate and revitalize him because he's not the same person he was 8 years ago because we all grow and adapt. So I think that has a great nuance and story, like you mentioned it does. I think the other returns that were very cool, we saw Roxanne and Sol Ruka and the Judgment Day beating her down, and here comes Becky Lynch talking about how she wants the championship and that Liv Morgan has the worst reign of all time, which she is not wrong on that because God Almighty, let's take the title off of this woman. And then here comes Stephanie Vaquer, just comes out and wrecks shop on the Judgment Day. She has the stare down with Becky, which I also did enjoy. So you got a 2-for-1 special with Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch returning. Both are looking to go after Liv Morgan. What did you think about this part?
I would take that 2-piece with a biscuit.
I am right there with you, good sir.
Yeah, I'd take that 2-piece with a biscuit. This was such a good way to have them return because you had that 1-2 punch. You had Becky come out and go off about Liv's title reign and how she hasn't done anything with this title reign. And then right when you think the segment's over, you have Stephanie come out and it's like, oh yeah, this was whose title reign you ended to start your title reign. I don't know if they're going to have Stephanie and Becky in the women's ladder match. I'm sure one of them might be facing Liv at Money in the Bank or in one of the Raws or Raws before or after Money in the Bank. But I think if you're going to take the title off of Liv anytime soon, one of these two is a great option for it. Even though I think Io was a perfect opportunity at SummerSlam, if you weren't going to do it with Io, then do it with one of these two. Or I wouldn't be mad if she beats both of these two as long as she's defending the title. That's the whole thing about my objection to Liv's title reign. It has nothing to do with her in-ring work. It has nothing to do with her character work. She's just not defending the title. What's the point of having someone as the champion if they're not going to defend the title? It was my issue with Roman Reigns years ago when he would hold the title and never defend it. It's been my issue with any title holder. If you're not defending the title, put it on someone who will defend it. And Becky and Stephanie Vaquer will defend that title. Io will defend that title. It's good to see some faces back in the women's division because we've got to start building that division up again. As we saw on NXT, it seems like there might be a new woman joining possibly the SmackDown division.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now that we're getting the men's division squared away, we're getting the women's division squared away. Let's go ahead and get the tag team division squared away so WWE can be running on all cylinders again.
And with that being said, since you said that so beautifully, I think I would not mind either if she was defending the title. It's just what they're doing with her character. It just absolutely makes me so angry just because of not defending it. And also, it's just like I've been very mad with this. It's all right. You're the greatest champion of all time. You're supposed to have us hate you, and I get that. But this is just not it for me. We need some other people. I'm kind of tired of the Liv Morgan experiment right now. And speaking of experimenting, we will go on over to NXT before we get into our other topics. We talk about championships, and you talk about championships being retained. We got to talk about, since you mentioned Stephanie Vaquer, we're talking about her other half. Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights defeated the Vanity Project for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Tavion Heights gets his first taste of gold in NXT. Miles Bourne has 2 belts. He's a North American champion and the tag team champion. I got to tell you, from watching those two, not just single stars, but when they were in the No Quarter Catch crew, highly underrated tag team, and they've grown leaps and bounds as competitors. I was very happy to see the title change. Let's see where we go from here. Your thoughts on Miles and Tavion winning the NXT tag titles?
Hey, between them and Ren Sinclair,
Yep.
Ren No Quarter Catch crew is on top right now, man. It's awesome.
Except for Charlie. Poor Charlie Dempsey.
Poor Charlie. I say poor Charlie, but honestly, I love that faction that they're in, the Birthright.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people hate on it, but I love that faction. I think it's such a great idea for a faction, especially with the people that are in it. Just because you have all these, multi-generational guys and girls that are like, oh yeah, we're here because of our parents, but guess what? We're actually good. So nah. I love that. Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne, ever since they both started, I've been kind of high on them. I was hoping to see Tavion Heights do something and start winning some gold soon because I was starting to get worried for him. Because he is one of those guys that he's really good in ring. He is pretty good on the microphone, but he just hasn't really had that connection as a character. I think them as a tag team is better for Tavion Heights than it is for Miles Bourne. Miles Bourne is a great character. He's great in ring. He's really good on the microphone. But them as a team is something I would rather see, especially when you bring them to the main roster. Have them come to the main roster as a team in the next 6 months or so. because that would help build up more tag teams on the main roster. Um, as far as, Miles being a double champion, that's awesome. I hope it actually plays into that where he might have to defend the tag titles and his North American championship in the same night. I think that would be perfect. It would play into his character of, yeah, I'm great. I'm good, blah blah blah. He has to defend the tag titles, and then he has to defend that North American title later on, and it's like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. But you could just see the wear and tear over time, and that might be why he ends up losing his North American title is he tried to do too much. So I like the idea of them as champions right now. It's good.
It's like his theme song, "Never Break," but let's see how much he can never break. So I think that has a nice little nuance to it, like you mentioned. Also, are you 5 years old with the birthright? We're better than our parents, but we can wrestle. Nah. What are you, like 5 years old now? Nana nana boo boo. What are you doing over there? I want to put the
I,
pacifier in your mouth. What are you doing?
hey,
What are you doing?
Lexus King. That's basically Lexus King's whole thing.
It really is. It really.
I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, it's like, you know who my dad was? I'm not going to say who my dad was. I'm going to go with a whole different name. But I'm a second generation wrestler, dag on it.
Yep. And I know a lot of people crap on it, but like Lexus King is so good. Ariana Grace is coming to her own with her character. Uriah Connors and Stacks are like the tag team I never knew I needed because like they've been growing on me too. But it's just like everybody in that doggone faction. And speaking of everything that goes on with all these stars, Keanu Carver beating EK Prosper with an inside cradle small package and showing more of a gentler giant side. And I love how they really hyped up on commentary. I don't know what's more dangerous, a calm monster or an angry monster. But yeah, Keanu Carver using all his weight on that inside cradle to beat EK Prosper. Finally, what did you think about this new character arc of, hey, can he, contain his emotions? Is he really going in another direction? What are your thoughts with Keanu Carver?
I like that idea of a big guy who's smart enough to think and be like, wait, I can use my size to my advantage. I'm wrestling a small guy. If I can just get him in this position and just dead weight him, then I can win. It makes sense. It's something as a big guy I've always thought of. What would be your finishing move? Just laying on somebody and just dead weighting. Like, you can't do anything if I just dead weight onto you. I'd like to think that this is a good turn for him where we get past this whole every big guy wrestler has to be angry. Every big guy wrestler has to be stupid. We're seeing this more and more. I think Eric Redbeard had talked about this before, where he wanted to do a kind of like an intellectual. I think it was Vince's idea. He wanted him to be like this intellectual giant. I don't know if you remember, but before he started walking around with the
oh god, I know
with the little cage, before he started walking around with that, he had the Rubik's Cube.
Yes,
and he would solve the Rubik's Cube or whatever. I think this could be a good opportunity for Keanu Carver to be that kind of character where maybe not solving Rubik's Cubes per se, but understanding the nuance of, yes, I am a bigger guy, and when I lose my temper, I lose my control. So as long as I stay mild-mannered, I can control what I do better. So I think this is going to be a cool turn for Keanu Carver.
I mean, when he was the heel, it's just like, I'm here now. I came from the streets. I ain't going back. Nobody's telling you to go back. But the thing on the other side of the thing is, like, you can also tell it is very heartfelt. Like, I came from nothing. I came from the streets. Kind of like that role reversal, that reverse psychology type of vibes to it. And you could have the baby face, the sympathetic, but he's a badass and kick it at the same time. Let him show some vulnerability. Let people in on his story instead of being so suppressed with that anger. And I also look at it from a stance too as well. The other side of the coin here, you have someone who is very angry. That's Grayson Waller. We saw Tony D, Cruz Montana, Grayson Waller. Great three-way promo to really set up Cruz Montana and Grayson Waller next week to face Tony D down the line. I thought Cruz Montana caught it very heartfelt. Grayson Waller was his normal, there's a new word of the day, dickish self of just like, hey, I'm finally getting my chance. I'm tired of being overlooked. I liked how Tony D brought it back to NXT 2.0. It's like, hey, Carmelo had the title. Braun Breaker held the title. But how about you, Grayson? No, you didn't even know world title here. Yeah, sure, you're a former tag team champion, but where the hell did that get you? So you're going back to the history format there. But also, Roy, I think you saw what I think I saw. And the fact of the matter is that we had the sweatshirt. Grayson Waller wore a sweatshirt, a hoodie, if you will. And on that hoodie, and there's a part of me that wants to get this merch. It says, soft, lazy, complacent, happy to be here. I popped because it's another layer to the overall douchebaggery that we're getting from Grayson Waller, and he's setting his purpose and letting it be known. This is the best thing that has happened to Grayson Waller, putting him back on NXT. Your thoughts on this promo segment?
I want I want that sweatshirt just
Hoodie.
because it's not it's not a dig. I want it because that actually describes me. I'm lazy. I'm just happy to be here. You want it because it's funny. I want it because it's true. I think so. They're having the match next week to determine who faces Tony D at Heatwave. I think there should be some sort of shenanigans, if you will, where there is no winner, it's a no contest or a double DQ, whatever. That way we can get a triple threat at Heatwave with Cruz Montana, Grayson Waller, and Tony D. If you do that, you don't have either one of these two guys who are coming in white hot. I mean, Cruz Montana coming in hot because he's the new hotness. He's just coming from TNA. He was TNA's top guy for like a year. You want to bring him in. You don't want to have him lose. You've got Grayson Waller who's talking all this trash. You can't have him lose yet. Because what does that do? You bring him in, he talks all this trash, he loses right out the gate. You lose all momentum for Grayson Waller if you do that. If you somehow get them to a triple threat match where we already know, unless he's going to change his finisher, Grayson Waller's finishing move is he's on the outside, bounces into the ring, or he dives through the ropes, jumps up, cutter. What you do is you have it where Cruz Montana looks like he's about to win. Grayson Waller's on the outside. He comes in, does his finisher, pins Tony D. That way you get a new champion. Cruz Montana feels like he's been slighted. And Grayson Waller proves that he's there to win the title and everybody else sucks. That's the way I'm hoping that this goes. I, honest to God, do not see how either one of these guys lose in this match next week. So I think they are going to set this up as a triple threat with some sort of chicanery going on during the match next week. But other than that, man, I'm looking forward to it. I really, really am, because they had the whole thing about NXT 2.0, and you remember they had the War Games match.
Yep, against the originals.
Where it was them against the originals, and you look at who all was in that War Games match, and look at where they're at now. Mm-hmm. And Tony D and Grayson Waller are the two odd men out because you had Trick in that match.
Mhm.
Trick's doing amazing on the main roster. You had Mello in that match. Mello should be doing a lot better than he is on the main roster, but Mello was massive. You have Braun Breaker in that match. Braun Breaker is about to be put into that main event scene that we just saw on Monday. So it is kind of poetic that these two guys that established NXT 2.0 are now the two of the three guys in this title picture for this new revamped NXT.
I think the best way you summed it up perfectly. It has to turn into a triple threat, and we said this last week because we were all like, Cruz Montana has to be the guy to be Tony D. Nope. Stop the presses. Grayson Waller being the face of this brand. I'm here for it. Cruz Montana doesn't get pinned, doesn't hurt him in the slightest. We go on and we move forward. And speaking of moving forward, we got to talk about your boy. Roy, come get your boy. I'm talking about Shiloh Hill. Shiloh Hill does this video talking about his injury, and he said that he fractured a bone in his skull. This is based off the match with Tristan Angels the week prior. And then he goes, oh, by the way, Cam Hendricks, I don't know how he's back. Did he really have an injury? Did he not have an injury? Oh, by the way, did you know I was doing some history and that, the great Kabuki had the miss, then he passed to the great Muda and Tajiri? Oh, by the way, did you know that I went down the rabbit hole and, Pat Patterson, the first Intercontinental Champion, there's no footage of that? And I'm like, I love him, but my God, he just was so all over the place. And I'll be back soon. And I'm just like, everything was like, oh, by the way. And I'm like, Shiloh Hill is hilarious. And Shiloh, I love you. I love you a lot. I think he's probably one of the funniest doggone talents there. He's just being himself. And the dude has come a long way with LFG, surrounded by the right people. The Undertaker was very much invested in him. But my God, Roy, that's your boy. Take it away on Shiloh Hill.
I want him to do this character every week. I want, while he's out with injury, I want it to be like, and now we go to Shiloh's Hill rabbit hole moment of the night. And he just tells us random facts about, WWE history or just wrestling history in general. And it's like 3 different facts, and it's always, by the way, did you know? By the way, did you know? There's no telling how he actually got a skull fracture. To be honest with you, it could have been anything. It could have been a hit from the dark web. Maybe he survived a hit or something. I don't know. I do hope that he has a speedy recovery because, as we both know, sometimes these injuries can be a death blow, especially in NXT, because you could be riding high, you get injured, and then when you come back, you've lost all that momentum. That is kind of one of the reasons why I joke about him having a character on TV while he's injured. That way people won't forget about him. People won't, if you keep him in the eye of the audience, then people might still have all that love for him rather than being out of everybody's memory. And then when he comes back, they're like, yeah, we've kind of moved past that. So I do hope he has a speedy recovery. And I do kind of hope that they find something for him to do on TV while he's out with injury.
I mean, the guy is entertaining. And first of all, I'm surrounded over here. He might have got a hit from the dark web. My goodness gracious, Roy Costin over here. But one of the things I will say this about Shiloh Hill definitely is an integral part. I love what he was doing Tatum Paxley like I know you do. But dang it, man. It is a blow. But Shiloh Hill, we wish you a speedy recovery. And speaking about recovery and speaking about just the time put in and just overall speed and attrition and everything that went into these kicks and strikes, last thing I want to mention about NXT, Lola Vice and Kendall Gray, oh my God. So Lola Vice, Kendall Gray gets slammed on the steps. And then you see it in the picture-in-picture. I'm like, what is going on here? There's blood coming down this poor girl's ear. They tape her up. Her equilibrium is all off. She's taking these strikes and kicks. And I loved this match because, again, first time that the NXT Women's Championship is defended in the underground. Lola Vice is kicking. She's ready to do the death blows and the strikes. But, Ren Sinclair's out there like, come on, Kendall, you got to do this. You can do this. And then she's slapping her in her face because she's a great friend and it adds more to the drama in the moment of the match. Then she puts her in the arm bar and Lola Vice taps, stretches out the arm. And then they hug and she gives her a kiss on the cheek. And it was just a great way and a great send-off for Lola Vice. We saw the aftermath online. Damian Priest comes out and shows some love to his boo. She gives a speech, and Lola Vice looks to be going to the main roster, looking to be on SmackDown with her boo, Damian Priest. This was a great send-off. Elevates Kendall Gray even more. The inclusion of Ren Sinclair at the end, helping out her best friend. I thought every layer of this was great, and my God, that young lady is a tough woman. Both of these ladies are. Your thoughts on Kendall and Lola?
I really enjoyed the added layer of Ren Sinclair hyping up Kendall Gray during the match to where after we had the referee spot and Kendall gets put into the rear naked choke and you just see Ren telling her like, you can't quit, you can't pass out, you've got to get up, you've got to get up. And that is enough to kind of revitalize Kendall Gray. This is about the way that I was hoping that it was going to go. When we talked about this a few weeks ago, was I was hoping this underground match would end with Kendall Gray beating Lola Vice in Lola Vice's, I believe, first loss in the underground, and having Lola Vice hold up Kendall Gray's arm, say, you're the champion, you did this, you're awesome. Kendall Gray saying, no, you're awesome. They do give the hug. And yeah, it looks like we're getting Lola Vice on the main roster pretty soon. So that is going to be another one that is a good injection for that women's division on SmackDown.
And speaking of injection, and no, I'm not talking about the lethal injection, the lethal dose of poison. I'm talking about more injection to these amazing rosters. We did find out from TNA that Gabby Forza, the boo of Bear Bronson, is now signed to TNA. For those who've never seen Gabby Forza wrestle, trained at Creative Pro, Long Island represent, and everything that she's done. She is another one that is an absolute dynamo. Can't wait to see what she does in the Knockouts division. She was in that Knockouts TV tournament. I got to tell you something else, man. We lost Jody Threat and Mara Shade, the former Jakara Jackson. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo! I am for real, Roy Costin. And it looks like Mara Shade is on her way to AEW to be with her boo. I'm talking about Kevin Knight. For the love of God, please do not put her in the Don Callis family. And we also saw Jody Threat is now gone. Now, here's my thing. We saw Robert Stone talking on the phone, talking about, hey, we got a free agent and that they're good to go. He's talking to another free agent. I got to tell you, if the free agent is Jody Threat and we add Jody Threat to the NXT Women's Division, I'm cool with that. Because, again, another layers, and Jody Threat is awesome. But I got to ask you, your thoughts on the TNA side of Jody Threat and Mara Shade being gone, as well as the signing of Gabby Forza.
It's interesting that I believe, let's see, did both of them ask for their release from TNA?
I believe Jody Threat did, and yes, Mara Shade did as well.
Okay, so that is kind of interesting. I do think that we will see Sade in AEW. It will be pretty cool to see Jody Threat show up in NXT. I don't know if that's where she's going to end up at, but I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. And as far as Gabby, Gabby's awesome. She's fun to watch, and with them losing two talent, having her come in, that's going to help kind of maintain that women's division.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think in any Pacific spot, it's always great to see these talents have a place to work. I think Gabby Forza is going to do her thing. I think Jody Threat and Mara Shade has grown a lot since the NXT days with Jakara Jackson as her character there. She's really amplified up her game. Jody Threat's another veteran. She's hardcore and she'll do anything. I think we have a lot of great minds and a lot of great talents depending on wherever they may go. I feel like the calling back in 2001. I'll go wherever you will go. And I'll tell you where we're going. We are going to the AEW portion of the show, the final part of this fine program. We got the AEW Continental Cup. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So here's how it works. No outside interference and no time limits. 16 wrestlers compete in 8 blind draw matches. The 8 winners then compete in 4 blind draw matches. The 4 winners move on to the semifinals in Glasgow, Scotland on August 26th. The Cup final takes place at Wembley Stadium at AEW All In, London on August 30th, and the winner of the final will receive the Continental Cup and will be the new AEW Continental Champion. And here is the names that are in this. Jon Moxley, Nigel McGuinness, Jay White, Brian Cage, Kyle O'Reilly, Katsuyori Shibata, Matt Sydal, Hechicero, Roderick Strong, David Finlay, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Claudio Castagnoli, Orange Cassidy, Ace Austin, Jake Doyle, and Eddie Kingston. And the matches that will be taking place, Orange Cassidy versus Matt Sydal will be on Collision. Claudio Castagnoli versus Ace Austin will also be on Collision, as well as Jake Doyle versus Eddie Kingston. And the matches on Dynamite, we got Jay White and David Finlay on August the 12th. We got Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Jon Moxley. We got Roddy and Kyle O'Reilly on the 15th. And we got Brian Cage and Hechicero on the 15th, as well as Katsuyori Shibata versus Nigel McGuinness. And your thoughts on the Continental Cup and the participants we have in it and the matchups.
Are we still going to do the Continental Classic?
That's what I'm thinking. Is this kind of like replacing what we have at the Classics? Because then we have 2 Continentals, number 1. But also number 2, it's tournament after tournament after tournament, baby.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. I think it's really cool. I think that it seems like that every match Moxley is in, his title will be on the line. So I guess that means that he doesn't necessarily have to go all the way to the finals. Out of the matches announced so far, there are some pretty interesting ones. Shibata and McGuinness should be interesting. That should be fun. Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong's going to be a really good contender, especially, they're going to let them go out there and just kind of do what they do.
And they're also in the conglomeration.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing Jack Perry beat Moxley in the first round. That way we know for sure there is going to be a new champion by the end of this tournament. So, yeah.
I think a lot of these matches have a lot of solid vibes to it. I like the surprise of Jungle Boy beating Jon Moxley. Nigel and Shibata has that feel because we all go back to old school Nigel and how Shibata's a legend in his own right. Roddy and Kyle have that history from the Undisputed Era and, of course, in the conglomeration. Orange Cassidy and Matt Sydal definitely has a surprise to be a shocker. Jake Doyle and Eddie Kingston, I'm okay with that. I think it'll be all right. Brian Cage and Hechicero, okay. Sure, why not? Don Callis family. But sure, we got... And well, here's the thing. Brian Cage, for his size, can move incredibly. He's incredibly athletic. But also, I'm just like, why is he in this tournament? We said this before we got out. We'll say it right here. Brian Cage, Why are you here? It's like, why are you here? Brian, but okay.
Brian Cage is a good tag team guy, in my opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Put him in a tag team and have him face off for the tag titles. He doesn't need to be going after a singles title right now. I say put him in a tag team and let him face off for the tag titles. He's a good tag team wrestler.
Now, I have to ask on a side note, since you did mention he's a good tag team wrestler, did you like him when he was the TNA World Champion in 2018?
I mean, it was what it was, but I don't know. To me, his character now makes more sense to be a tag guy.
Well, if you remember, they tried to do him and Lance Archer for like a hot minute as like the new Road Warriors, but then that got pushed to the wayside.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
But I'll tell you what we do know is that we have a solid week of wrestling and we have a solid week of everything from news and topics. And that's what we bring you here on the Takedown podcast. Now, since we did have the fallout from SummerSlam, we're going to go back to 2006, 2007 next week, Mr. Roy Costin, as we are going to be watching episode 3 of our WSX series and coverage. We're going to be taking a look at the fallout from Vampiro winning the WSX championship, beating Sean Waltman. And we're going to see a lot of great tag teams and everything in between and our nostalgia trip back to 2006, 2007. And we got some more music to listen to with who the guest is now, so we can become more familiar with the guests on this week. So there's going to be a lot of great discussion on that, and we appreciate everyone who listens to this fine program. And Roy, where can we follow us on social media? The floor is yours. You do amazing work with the thumbnails and each and everything, keeping it up on the socials and all that good ish, if you will. I said ish. Roy, give us.
You can find us pretty much everywhere at either Takedown Pod or the Takedown Podcast. We are on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we are on Facebook. Also, we are on Instagram and Spotify. You can also find us at wfjafm.com/podcast. We are on there as well. So, yeah, pretty much everywhere. Just look us up at either Takedown Pod or the Takedown Podcast.
Links will be in the description, and also check us out, wfjafm.com, for the audio format. Man, if you don't go to that website, I'm going to tell you right now, you're missing out on great music and a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of variety for everybody because, as you know, variety is the spice of your life. And boy, every girl spice up your life. I feel like the Spice Girls, and I'm not even in a spice world, doggone it. But I got to tell you something right now, y'all. Check out everything that the Takedown Pod's doing and subscribe to our YouTube. If you want to check yours truly out, it's S&M Network Shows. Check me out, S&M Show 1 MCL92 on the Twitter, Larkin_92, M Larkin MB on the Instagram front, as well as LCFights.com and StephenMikeShow.com. And check out what Roy, my boy DC, Daniel Crimmins, and I did on the RWT pod for the second night live of SummerSlam. Links will be in the description. So with that being said, we'll be back in 2006 and 2007 next week for some Wrestling Society X. And for Roy Costin and Mike Larkin here in the year 2026, we appreciate you for listening. And I don't know if you caught it without this fine program today, but Derpaders are going to Derpader. Dr. Evil, Austin Powers. Oh, by the way, bye.